Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at Phantom. This is going to be a higher time frame update video. Our lower time frame video will also be up above here, so check that out if that's more what you're interested in. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Okay, so as we talked about in the previous video, what we have is price history here from November 2018, and what we are looking for here on the higher time frame is a couple of counts. Now, I'm going to go over one of the counts which is the least likely in my opinion, but something I'm still keeping an eye on. Now, if we are looking at this move into this low as a completion of a corrective structure, what we could be looking for is effectively a bigger three-wave move to the upside, in which case what we would be arguing is that potentially we could have this as an A wave, this is an A, a B, and then looking for this as a C wave to the downside. Now, like I said, this is not my primary expectation with this count, but it is technically possible. We could argue that within here we have this as a W, this is an X, and then this is a Y into this high, in which case this could actually be a B wave, and this could then be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into this low, meaning that we've completed here. And what we're looking for is that direct push up in a bigger C wave here. So if this is the case, effectively what we could be looking for here is a move up towards this 1-to-1 here, which would actually bring us to $89. Alternatively, more realistic targets would be between this 0.618, which would be this $8.07, to this 8.54, which would be up here towards $35. So the minimum requirement I'd like to see here if this develops as a C wave would be at least this 0.618. So we always need to be careful of this idea that we could see a truncation in a C wave when we're getting an ABC, and this would actually suffice as a minimum requirement because we would have taken the A wave high, as well as that we would have been potentially looking for just moving up past that zone and into the 0.618. So this would be one of the counts that we are looking for. If this count is actually in play, effectively what we'd be saying here is we don't want to see price come back down below this 1642. If we see price go below this level, effectively then one of the other counts is actually more likely. Like I said, this is not the highest confidence count that we've got here, but nevertheless it is a potential option. Now, the other way that I'm looking at this is that potentially what we could have here is that this is 1, 2, this becomes 3, and we're looking for a fourth wave. Now, invalidation of this as a 5-wave move in this way would actually come by crossing this 0.453. As long as we remain above this level, what we could actually potentially still be in play here is that we could be forming this fourth wave. Now, this fourth wave could look to form in a couple of ways here. So what we could actually argue is that within this count here, we have this completion and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into this point here. We're looking for a 3-wave move to the upside here, and then we're still looking for a C wave to the downside. So now looking at this area here, what we would be looking for as a potential rejection zone would be between this 52 cent and this $1.77. So if we do just see something like this where we get a 3-wave move to the upside here, this could align with being in a B wave here, in which case what we would be looking for would be another 5-wave move to the downside. So what we would be looking for within this effectively would be that if we do see price look to push to the downside here, what we could see is a move down towards some of these lower levels here, which would be the minimum requirement of this 0.618, which would be the 1719. If we see 5 waves to the downside here and we take this A wave, we always need to be careful of that idea that we could once again get that idea of a truncation in this C wave. However, 1-to-1 would actually be lower down here towards this zone of this 0.545. If we do look to extend to the downside here, potentially what we could see is price could come down towards these lower levels here, this 1236 to this 1382 area, and then looking for this lower zone here. Now, the problem is that within this as a fourth wave, what we would not want to see here would be a move past this 50%. So as soon as we start to lose this 0.53, this would actually mean that, you know, this can't be a fourth wave. So if we do get something like that, it would mean that this count is rather within our third potential option, which we're going to go over here. But effectively, if we do just get a move down towards this 1-to-1, something like this, effectively this would align with the idea of still having this possibility of this being a fourth wave, in which case what then we'd be looking for is 5 waves to the upside, looking for this 39.20 as a possible target area to this $9.09. So if we do see something like this and we do manage to hold these zones, potentially we could be looking for that continuation to the upside. Now, if we are looking at the internals of this B wave, what we'd be saying is that we could be looking for this as an A wave to the upside. This is a B, and what we're looking for is a C wave to the upside here. Now, 1-to-1 would actually be here towards this $84. Minimum requirement would be this 0.618, but ideally I'd like to see this A-wave high come into play. So if we're talking about targets towards that, the 68.76 and this 84 are going to be quite interesting. Now, if we do see this as looking to trend to the upside, what we'd want to see here is actually a move up towards this 1618, which would be here, this $1.95. If we do see a move up into the zone, what we could then get is an additional fourth wave and a fifth wave to the upside, which could look to push us up towards this $3.29 to this $2.38 as a possible target area. So if we do see price starting to develop 5-wave structure to the upside here, this could align with the idea of being within this third wave or within this C wave. So we need to just be on the lookout that if this is just corrective up, it's indicating that we're going to see that continuation to the downside afterwards. So that is the one way that we're looking at the internals here. Another way that we can potentially look at these is that within the structure here, we are looking for continuation rather in this sense here, where we have this as a W wave, this is an X wave, and what we're looking for is a Y wave to the downside. Now, if this is the case and we have this as our X wave in place here already, our typical rejection zone for this as an X wave would be this 196 to this 59.74. So we have come up into this area already, and we could argue that this is ABC. Now, if this is just completed here as an X, what we could be then looking for is this Y wave to the downside. So what we'd be looking for is effectively 3 waves to the downside, looking to push us down to at least this level here of this 10 cent 47. The 1-to-1 requirement would be lower down here towards this 0.340. So going to be keeping an eye on those lower levels if we do see price continuing to break to the downside. Now, the first part of this that we could see actually playing out is we could argue that this whole move here is an A wave, in which case what we'd then be looking for effectively would be a 3-wave move to the upside, and we could potentially still see this push up towards the zone of this 37.39. Though really, even if we do see this push up higher here, possibly what we could see is a test of this previous X wave area towards this 51.55. So we're going to have to monitor this move and see how exactly this plays to the upside if we do continue to hold this support zone. If we start to lose this support zone, it is possible that we could have a completed move here and we could start to break down in a 5-wave structure. Like I said, this 0.618 level is going to be the zone we are looking for as a minimum requirement here. But if we do look to push down towards that 1-to-1, that would push us down towards that 1061 zone. So that would be looking at this, looking to come down here one more time. Now that would still align with the idea of this as an impulse, because this would push us down towards this zone of the 0785 to this $10 range. So that would be aligning with that 4th wave idea within that bigger picture. So it is also possible within this that we could also look at this structure slightly different and say this is W into here, this is a 3-wave move for an X, and we could get a 3-wave move back to the upside here for a Y. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this. If we do see something like this develop in 3 waves up, 3 waves down, and then a 5-wave move to the upside, going to be keeping an eye on this area here. This 1.618, which is sitting here at this 199, would be the highest I'd want to see this go as a corrective structure in a WXY. But between this 1-to-1 and that level could align quite nicely with coming back up into this channel. Now, if we did see something along those lines, then we'd be looking for that potential of that continuation afterwards. So that's looking at this as that possibility that, we're still looking for that continuation down in either that 4th wave or the B wave, which we're going to go over in a second. Now, in the higher time frame here, we can also just argue that possibly what we could have here is that this in itself could actually be a completed move, where we say that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 into this high. Now, if that's the case, effectively those same ideas can come into play here, where we're still looking for that possibility of a move to the downside, looking for this 1947 to this 0087 as a potential target area. Now, if we start to lose this lower range here, this becomes more likely that this move is actually going to come back down and actually look to invalidate this as a possible ABC. But if we do actually look to push down here one more time, where this is either A, B, and C, or alternatively W, X, and then we get Y, there is still some confluence there, with that idea of seeing a little bit more of a push to the downside here before looking for either a C wave up or potentially a bigger third wave if we develop the right structure here. Now 1-to-1 off of coming back into this golden pocket, which would be a very interesting level to me, the 0.316 to the 0.247, if we do see price come down into this zone, would actually align with coming up towards a $70.80. And then what we would be also looking for would be the potential that if we do move down this deep here, we need to be very careful around these highs, because once again we have this minimum requirement sitting there towards us $3.73. So if we do see price come back up here, effectively we could then look for that possibility that, you know, we need to break down again afterwards in a bigger way, where this would become A, this would become B, we'd get C, and then we'd look for that continuation down in 3 waves and then look to push up again. So we're going to have to obviously watch and see how this how the structures develop here, and whether we actually confirm these moves to the upside, or whether this structure actually starts to just roll over here for this B wave and actually looks to break down deeper. Now, if we are looking at this in this way, we also need to just be aware, because if we're saying that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into here, there is the possibility here as well that we could have something like this, where this is 1, 2, all of this becomes 3, we have 4th wave up into this area here. Really, our invalidation of this is going to come by moving all the way up here towards the zone of this $1.16. As long as we fail to push back above those levels, it's possible that we could see this actually develop as a 4th wave, and then we could start to see a 5-wave move to the downside. Now, typical zone we'd be looking for would be this 1186 to this 070, and now this would actually align with coming back into some of our lower target boxes here. And this would look to invalidate that idea of this becoming a bigger ABC pattern to the upside, or alternatively looking for that possibility of a break to the upside in 5 waves. So if we fail to actually break above the 74.65 and we continue to break down here, possibly we could be setting up for this 5th wave. Now, the structure within this is not great currently, and we would have to say that if we're trying to look at this as a 5-wave move, that either we have this as 1, 2, 1, 2, and then this is actually looking to break down in a bigger way, looking for a 3rd, which is once again not as clean, or alternatively we would have to say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and what we've had is an expanding diagonal here. Now, once again, with this idea, we'd still be looking for that possibility of a 3-wave move to the upside here. 54.58 would be our higher target that we'd be looking for this. We wouldn't want to see this really cross this point. Otherwise, it starts to become more likely that this is going to look to invalidate. And if we do see something up as high as that, it becomes more likely that this is A, B, and C. So going to be watching out for these higher levels here. But if we do just see a 3-wave move to the upside here, what we could potentially see is a move up towards this 38.62 to this 54.58. Now, if we stay within these ranges and we actually just get this as an ABC pattern, this could then align with the idea that all of this could actually become a wave 1. We get a wave 2 to the upside, and then we get a 3, 4, and a 5, which would align with coming into that lower target box that we just discussed, saying that, you know, if we are looking for this as a 5th wave here, we could still see one more leg to the downside. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this. You know, if this is a 5-wave move that hasn't completed, possibly we could either look to extend directly down here, or alternatively we look to get a bit of a push to the upside here for this possibility of a wave 2. Now, this could also just be A, and we get a B wave up, and then we look for another 3-wave down, which would align still with that same idea that we talked about of that bigger WXY pattern, where we're looking for that possibility of getting that bigger Y wave to the downside. So if we do see this as A, we get 3 waves up, and then we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and break these lows again. This could align with the fact of the WXY, which is looking at this Y wave over here that we said, you know, we need to be on the lookout, because if we do see something like this, 0.618 is going to be our minimum requirement we are looking for. And if we do get this as an A, B, and then a C to the downside, this would align with coming down into some of these lower levels. So just need to be careful with this idea. There is still potential that we could see price look to react to the upside, but we need to see whether we can continue to hold these lows. If we fail to hold these lows that we have here, and we start to lose this level, it starts to become more likely that we're going to see that downside continuation. If we do manage to hold this low here, what we could then see is that price could start to form 5-wave structure up here, 3 waves down, 5 up, 3 down, 5 up, in which case that would align with this idea of being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or alternatively, if we just see this develop 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we take this high here, we need to be on the lookout for that possibility of that break to the downside after that point. Having a look at this whole upper area as a potential range here, what we can see is that there's two areas of interest that I'm just keeping an eye on. We do have this value area low, which is sitting here towards the 1622. This would align with coming back down into these lows. Alternatively, if we do see a push to the upside in 3 waves, we also do have this value area high sitting here towards the 7493. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that if we do see price push to the upside. We are currently holding this point of control, so this is quite an interesting thing. If we do continue to hold this level as support, what we could potentially see is price could get gravitated back towards this value area high, which would align with that idea of that corrective structure here. Now, if we do look to get a rejection of some of these zones, we could then be looking for that possibility of a break to the downside. Alternatively, if we start to lose this point of control, then we need to be very careful, because we could be gravitated towards this value area low, and if this zone fails to hold here, we also need to just be aware that, you know, just from a chart pattern potential, we do have this possibility of a head and shoulders forming here. So if we start to lose this level, it could actually indicate that, you know, we could see a bit of a sell-off here to the downside, quite a substantial one if we're going to use that as a target. But yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Effectively, I want to see whether we continue to hold this good structure to the upside here. If we are looking for that bullish case, if we lose this 1642, then effectively what we'd be looking for is either this potential where we're looking at this as a 4th wave, in which case I will be paying a lot of attention to this lower level here of this 50% as a possible target. And then, you know, if we are looking at this idea, this allows for a much deeper correction, in which case what we could still see is price come back down to some of these lower levels here, particularly towards this golden pocket would be quite an interesting level. 3 cent 1 and 2 cent 4. This could be an interesting zone if we do see this price look to break down here. But the key thing here effectively is going to be, if we're looking for this idea of a break to the downside, we need to maintain this high. If we are looking for this idea of a break to the upside, we need to maintain this low. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description, you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out. It's free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.